Apparently blondes have more fun, and I know you'll have more fun with this tasty little classic sipper of a cocktail. Let me show you how to make an Irish blonde. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Matt, I'm the Whiskey Nerd, and like I said, this week I'm making a very, very tasty modern classic cocktail. I'm making an Irish blonde, and this recipe comes from like a variation of a recipe by Dale De Groff, and it's really, really tasty despite having a pretty limited set of ingredients. Only 4 ingredients here on the table, but it has a really nice kind of deep backbone of flavour to it. It calls for whiskey, Irish whiskey, and the whiskey I've got right here is the new Bushmills 14-year-old single malt. This here is a very, very nice whiskey. It spent most of its life in bourbon barrels, giving it a nice bit of like vanilla, almost like butterscotch sweetness, but then it was finished off in Malaga wine casks, giving it this kind of like almost tropical fruits, mango, pineapple, that kind of flavor. I did a review of this whiskey earlier this week. If you want to see that review, there'll be a link up there, there'll be a link down below. But when I was tasting this whiskey, I noticed that there was a lot of like orangey notes to it, a lot of like citrus peel, orange notes to it, and I thought it would work really well in this recipe, and I was right, because it works really well in this recipe, because this recipe has a lot of other orangey notes to it. It calls for a little bit of triple sec, which is an orange liqueur, some orange bitters, and a little bit of Fino sherry. You can use your whatever Fino sherry you want. I just got this little half bottle because Fino sherry, it's almost like nutty, it's almost like savoury, almost like salted meats or salty nuts, like that kind of like savoury kind of style to it, and it adds a lot of backbone to cocktails, but it's something you would use in very sparing amounts. It's not like an Oloroso or a Pedro Jimenez where you might use a lot more of it. This here, something a little bit drier but gives a lot of flavour. But that's enough talking about the cocktail. I think it's time we make it. It is going to be a stirred drink, so we're going to get our mixing glass and we're going to pop a nice rock of ice into there before we measure out our ingredients. We're going to start off with our lovely Bushmills whiskey. Oh, there we go. Like I said, it's got this really nice like fruity note to it, quite orangey, quite citrusy, but also quite sweet. So we're going to go in with 50 ml of our whiskey. If you can't find this or you want to use your own whiskey of choice, just use, it does call for Irish whiskey, so just use 50 ml of whatever whiskey you want to use into there. For our sweetness, we're going to go in with our triple sec. It calls for 20 ml of triple sec. This is from Monin. Again, you can use whatever brand of triple sec you like. Just in there, 20 ml. And then we're going to go in with our sherry. Like I said, that Fino sherry. It's quite full flavored, it's quite strong, it has a lot of kind of strength to it. So we're going to go in with about 7.5 ml, just a little bit over a bar spoon, not to overpower it, just to give us a little bit of backbone to the cocktail. And lastly, our orange bitters. Just going to go in with 1 dash of Angostura orange bitters, again just to kind of like round it out and add that little bit of extra kind of citrusy orange notes to the cocktail. Next up, we're just going to stir it down about 30 seconds, maybe 35 seconds to get it nice and cold. Okay, I can feel it from the outside of the glass that this is nicely chilled now, so we're going to go to strain it out into a chilled Nick and Nora glass. Just going to pop our strainer up top and pour that in just like that. Oh yes. And for a final little touch for our garnish, just going to get a little orange peel, rub the oils over the top to get those kind of citrusy notes into it. Pop it over the edge, just like that. And that right there is how I make an Irish blonde. Now real quick, before I taste this cocktail, if you're new here, scroll down, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I put out whiskey cocktails every Friday, and I put out whiskey reviews, like the review of that new Bushmills, every Wednesday. So if you want to see those, make sure you're subscribed. But right now, let's taste this cocktail. Cheers. Like I said, like all those orangey notes work really, really well here. But first off, I want to talk about that Fino sherry. It adds like this like backbone, this kind of structure to the cocktail. Like I said, almost savory, almost nutty, and that could be kind of overpowering, but here with the sweetness of the whiskey, with the orange bitters, with that triple sec, it just rounds it out and helps the Fino sherry give the cocktail some structure without kind of being the only note you can taste, because I would not have wanted that whiskey to be overpowered. And like if you're familiar with Bushmills whiskey, it's got this kind of like malty, fruity funk to it, and has a nice bit of like oak weight in there because it is a 14-year-old whiskey. So it does have this nice bit of flavor behind it that just carries through into the cocktail. It doesn't get overshone by the triple sec, by the Fino, by the little bit of orange bitters, because again, a lot of those notes are already present in the cocktail. You got a bit of spiciness, you got a bit of like that biscuity, malty note, you got a bit of like almost savory char from that oak, but again, all that citrus works really well with that triple sec and with those orange bitters, just giving you a really nice cocktail. Like, as you can see, it is quite a blonde color on it. I can see why blondes have more fun, because this is a very tasty little cocktail. So I'm going to keep on enjoying it, and I'll see you next time. Sláinte.